Well, before we get started, I'm gonna address this. My last video, the Chucky, the Child's Play review, for some reason was stuck at 360p resolution. It's a 1080p video, so if the resolution of this video is stuck at 360, that's simply YouTube checking out its own esophagus by having its head so far up its own ass. That said, let's review. Spider-Man Far From Home. So Spider-Man Far From Home is the second Spider-Man movie. This time, it's a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man wants to go on vacation, but as we saw in the trailer, he can't because Nick Fury's like, no, we need your help. So Mysterio's teamed up with Nick Fury, and now Spider-Man's teamed up with them to take out some elemental badness. They're monsters that are shaped like lava monsters and water monsters. Hydro Man, though they don't ever use a name, so is it Hydro Man? Some shit that threatens the Earth. You know. Common stuff in the MCU these days. Point is, Spider-Man wants to just be on vacation with his class. He wants to have a good time, but look at that. He's being drawn back into the fight. Gotta keep this review very vague because I want to avoid spoilers. So if you feel like, hey, this review is bullshit, it's vague. That's just me trying not to spoil anything for you. Because if I even go off the rails, it's gonna be like, so Spider-Man Far From Home. I saw it. That said, I enjoyed Spider-Man Far From Home. I dug this movie. The second half of the movie is what I really love. And because it's the second half of the movie, it's what the movie leaves you with, so it's easier to take that home with you and be like, oh yeah, it was great. The first half of the movie, I was like, oh, it's a cute high school comedy. It's fine, you know, but it's not the Spider-Man stuff I came for. I mean, Spider-Man does stuff in the first half of the movie, but it didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. It was a high school comedy is what it was. And granted, Spider-Man Homecoming had that as well, but I like the whole coming of age thing in there, though this is also a coming of age story. How many times can you come of age? As many times as you can make Spider-Man movies. Second half of the movie is really when it's like, okay, here we go, into overdrive. Now you have your Spider-Man movie. Or at least what I personally wanted in a Spider-Man movie. Look, it's like this. I played Spider-Man on PS4. I'm broken now. I now require my Spider-Man stories to be at least that good. It's just what happened. That said, I love Peter Parker's story in here. Tony Stark just died, and it's like, who's the next Tony Stark? I don't know, maybe this new kid, Spider-Man. I would say spoiler alert for Avengers Endgame for even saying that, but Avengers Endgame is the second highest grossing film in history. If you were gonna see Avengers Endgame, you've seen it by now. If you haven't seen it by now, you just don't give a shit to see it. And that really shined in here, the struggle between Peter Parker wanting a normal life and having to be Spider-Man. I mean, that is what Spider-Man is. I also love Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. Jake Gyllenhaal was great. He was charismatic as hell. In fact, any scene I think of people talking that I really liked in this movie probably involves him. I heard that like, oh, he and Tom Holland have such great chemistry. I mean, they have a couple good scenes together, yeah. But what people mean when they say that is Jake Gyllenhaal is the fucking man. And if I'm being honest with myself, I'm gonna let the fanboy flag fly. I just love Mysterio. He's always been a personal favorite of mine, and I accepted years ago that I would never see a movie with him in it. And the fact that they have a movie with him in it, and it was done well shoot, it's a summer Christmas for all of us Quentin Beck fans. I also really liked Zendaya in this movie. Like in the first one, we didn't know she was MJ or a variant of Mary Jane. Then at the end it was like, oh, I'm MJ. And I was like, are you though? You feel like a completely different character? But really the Spider-Man dynamic of high school has changed. It used to be, oh, nerds are outcasts and they're nerdy, and then the jocks, like the Flash Thompsons, are the jocks, and they're the ones who pick on the nerds. Now it's like, it's so different. They have to change things up. Like Flash Thompson's also a nerd. Point is, in a world where the high school social dynamic has changed so much since Spider-Man's inception, thus the characters in Spider-Man stories have to also change and be different and basically updated to more accurately represent a modern day high school of nice person, asshole, popular kid, outcast, and everyone in between. I thought MJ and Peter Parker, I thought the relationship was quite sweet. My biggest gripe about the movie is some of the pacing in the first act. Like if the movie's a bit too long, and I think it might be, anything they could have cut from the first act of the movie. And you could have cut what I'm gonna call some awkward funny moments that don't really land, but not most of them, because most of them do land, but some of them don't, which is my point. It's like you have enough funny moments. Why do you need to keep all of them? You can cut some of the more awkward ones out. You still have enough laughs in here for people to walk out and be like, yo, the movie was funny, if that's what you're going for. It's like they were on set filming. They were like, we need something funny to happen. What should we do? I got it. We'll have the teacher take a selfie with a 35mm camera and the camera will drop in the water. Funny. And that kind of stuff. I'm like, not the strongest moments in the movie. It shouldn't stand out. It's only a couple times, but at a point, it's just like the entire dynamic of the MCU. We're like, all right, we're comedies now. You can have the comedy take a back seat for a good character moment. It's fine. Like the entire Ned Leeds romance in here. Like I was like, Why are you wasting my time? The action scenes were great, but it's an MCU movie. It's a summer blockbuster. Of course, the action scenes are going to be great. This isn't 2002 when Raimi's Spider-Man first came out. It's like, I've never seen something like that before. Yeah, but we've seen a lot of things like that before. But what I liked was underneath the hood of the action spectacle, there were actually some pretty clever cogs turning. I appreciated that. Couple scenes in particular that weren't necessarily action sequences. I was like, I was really hoping something like this was in this movie. And it was. And it was amazing. All right, it's pretty much what I can talk about without going into spoilers, right? Yes, fantastic. I guess we'll wrap this up. I'm gonna say Spider-Man Far From Home, it was solid. I think I like Spider-Man Homecoming more. Raimi's Spider-Man 2 I like more. And although the first half dragged on more than the second half, when leaving the movie theater, great post-credit scenes as well, I walked out going, yeah, they left me with a good taste in my mouth and a smile on my face. Yep. Gonna address it. That awkward moment when saying it out loud, hearing me say it, it sounded dirtier than it did in my mind a second ago. Whatever. I'm not cutting it out. It stays, because I meant it. I would say Spider-Man Far From Home is worth watching and worth buying on Blu-ray. All right, so Spider-Man Far From Home. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what is your favorite Spider-Man villain that's yet to be on screen? Bring on Kraven the Hunter, because he's pretty fucking boss. Let's be real. But you choose yours, whoever it is, whoever you think. Comment below, let me know. And yes, once again, if you like this video, if you can click that like button, it does help me out. Absolutely. I do notice it, and I do appreciate it. We're going to take the algorithm back for ourselves, is what I'm saying. So I genuinely do appreciate your help. Thank you. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.